Recently, the leadership of the Jehovah's Witnesses, the governing body, made a landmark decision. In this historic announcement, they basically said that they were no longer going to judge or punish someone for wanting to invest in themselves, plan for their future by furthering their education. And this has sent shockwaves through the Jehovah's Witness and the ex-Jehovah's Witness community. But as with any time that there is a major earth-shattering announcement that's made from Watchtower HQ, there's usually a subset of people that are like, you know, it's not really that big of a deal. I don't see why everyone's making it. No, I am here to tell you, you are not overreacting to this. This is a big deal. This should evoke a lot of emotion and passion, because what Watchtower has demonstrated through this flip-flop is something that I have talked about for a very long time, and I'm going to talk about it again. And that is how they will hijack someone's spirituality. They will take something precious for everyone, their belief system, and hijack that for their own benefit. And then they won't even apologize if they change their mind later on. So let's talk about it. Hello and welcome back to the JW Thoughts channel. My name is Wally, and today I got another rant for you. What happened was I haven't uploaded a video for the last 2 days because I went on a little hike and camping, and I had some time in the beautiful Pacific Northwest to really think about everything that's happened here in the last week or so with the Jehovah's Witnesses, and really flesh out my feelings about it and think about all the comments that I've been reading about the situation. And I had an interesting conversation with someone that I met as well. So we're gonna do all of that in this video, kind of a rant, but hopefully I'll be able to successfully elucidate what a lot of you might be feeling, and you have some talking points that will be useful and beneficial as you're thinking about this whole situation or responding to someone who's asking about this situation, whatever the case might be. So quickly, before we get into it, if you could drop a like on the video. It literally takes a half a second and it makes a massive difference in how the video performs in the YouTube algorithm. All praise the mighty algorithm. That's what we're all here for. Also, if you're not subscribed to the channel, consider subscribing. I have a goal of hitting 45,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and each and every subscription is very much appreciated. With all of that being said, let me take you on a journey of what was going on in my head as I was hiking. You know what? Actually, I took some videos. I never actually show you guys anything about like myself. You know what? We're going to change it up right now. Let me download those onto the computer and I can build the story. That'll help with storytelling. So let's do that. Oh my God! Wow! So I went to this place called the Lewis River, and in there are 3 waterfalls. This first picture there was the upper falls, and this one is absolutely stunning. It is the lower falls, a popular little spot, but I wake up early in the morning, and so I had the place all to myself. And I just sat there and was thinking and reading a book for about 8 or so hours. It did get a little bit hot later on in the day, so I had the harebrained idea that I would jump off of this 45-foot waterfall, even though there were signs saying not to, and you know, that you could kill yourself. But I managed to make it out on the other side and be a-okay. Only had some water in my ears, and to the people that were really like saying, "Are you gonna do it?" I told them, "Hey, it's all good, man." And they just stayed on the top. They say if you're nervous, you should picture people in their underwear. Well, I'm not nervous, and if you are, now you can picture me in my underwear. I don't really know where I was going with that joke, but I guess right here, that's where I was going with it. Absolutely nowhere. Anyway, now that that is out of the way, wow, that was just not even worth saying at all. Whatever. You get an idea. I had a lot of time to sit there and really think and ponder all of the things that have been happening in the organization. And I want to set this up by just painting the picture of what the Jehovah's Witness leadership does and how they treat the people that give them their life. They dedicate their life to God and the organization. They will do anything that the governing body says. Hey, your child should not get a life-saving medical procedure. You can't do it. It's against the Bible. And parents will follow through with that. And so much so that they'll brag about it. I know some people, there's usually, anytime I say that, there's like this weird psychosis that happens where people say, well, that's never actually happened. You know, there's no one that's ever died because of the blood policy. You know, the states won't allow that to happen. On jw.org, they have an example of a young boy who died because his parents were listening to the governing body. They have his whole story on there. So I don't know, like, they brag about the fact that people do this. So I don't know why people come to the defense of Watchtower, but I'll say a little bit more about that later on, because there's some of that going on with this additional education situation as well. But anyway, so what people will do is they give everything to Watchtower, and then Watchtower, what do they do with this trust that is given to them, bestowed upon them? I think it's more like taken, because they do hijack people's spirituality. But what do they do with that? They are so toxic and abusive in how they wield this power. So much so that they will look you in the face and they will tell you, don't think about the past. What happened, happened. Don't worry about it. Nostalgia? You're going to be nostalgic for the good old days? Don't waste your time doing that. You might get caught up in the past and not be able to move forward.
Some choose to dwell on the past. In effect, live in the past. Isn't it true that sometimes we do struggle to maintain the correct view, the correct focus, the correct attitude? We could become so wrapped up with living in the past that we find it hard to let go and move forward.
Well, if we constantly view the past as being better, will we be content with the present? It's not likely. We will probably live in a constant state of discontent, wishing that we could go back in time. But is that realistic? And does that make us any happier? No, it's not wise. When we experience difficulties, it's easy to long for the good old days, perhaps the days before we came into the truth. When doing so, we often exaggerate the joys and minimize the problems of the past. As our midweek workbook mentioned, how much better it is to count our present blessings and to focus on future joys under God's kingdom. And isn't it true also that the challenging things that we may deal with now often refine us? They make us better Christians.
And they'll make these massive changes and essentially come out and say, hey, these policies that we told you were from God, that were from the Bible, turns out they weren't. Turns out they weren't rooted in anything but our imagination. And what would an abusive, toxic person do in this situation? You know what they would tell you?
Nor is an apology needed for not getting it exactly right previously. We understand this is how Jehovah operates. He reveals matters gradually when it is needed. And also, the governing body is neither inspired nor infallible. And so it can err in doctrinal matters or in organizational direction. The brothers do the best they can with what they have and what they understand at the time, but are happy if Jehovah sees fit to clarify matters.
Don't blame me. That's how God operates. That they look Jehovah's Witnesses in the face and they say, come here. That's how God wants it to be. God wanted you to not have a choice to get higher education. And now that he changed his mind, don't come crying to us like it's our fault. How sick and disgusting is it that they will simultaneously tell you, don't think about the past, and I ain't sorry for the things that I said, the things I forced and made you do. I move my microphone, and sometimes if I do that, there's a humming noise, so we're going to cut here.
Nor is an apology needed for not getting it exactly right previously.
Now, put all of that just on the back burner for the time being. We'll come back to that in a bit. But I want to tell you about a conversation I had when I was hiking. I was there a little bit later at night. There wasn't anyone around. And over comes, as I'm just sitting on a rock, wanders this nice person. I'll call him John. I can't remember his name. And we had a great conversation. And, you know, he was looking at, you know, this beautiful natural wonder and was like, man, it's so great that God put these places for us to enjoy, and the calm and the serenity. And, you know, I didn't want to yuck his yum, but I'm also not going to just like not say what I think, because I don't usually not say what I think. And I was like, yeah, you know, I'm not a believer myself, but I find equal satisfaction in thinking about glacial movements and how they form these beautiful situations that our brains love, and the psychology of it. Oh my goodness, our old hunter-gatherer brains, they crave the peace, the calmness that comes from running water, because it's so important in our little reptilian brains. We crave the exact same thing. Even though we have faucets around every corner, we still get the sense of calm, because hardwired into our brain was the struggle to find, you know, the things that make us happy. And so anyway, so we started talking about some religion, and he was very, very like open, and he wasn't like a hardcore Bible thumping person. He even agreed that he was probably a Christian because that's where he was born into. And if he was Muslim, he probably would have been born a Muslim, and all of that good stuff. And I did talk about some of my relationships to religion specifically. And he was kind of taken back by that, because he had said that belief and religion should only add things. Or for him, they only add things to his life. Never really takes anything away. It's not really about the rules. It's all about being kind. Man, I was like, I can't get mad about that. You know, who's going to be mad about the religion of kindness? I certainly am not. There's a lot of other religions that I'd rather focus my ire on if I wanted to be iracious. Is that a word? I think it's just irritated. I'm pretty sure the word would just be irritated. Wow. Iracious sounds kind of cool though. Anyway, neither here nor there. And as I was telling him, you know, just about like my past and everything, he was able to successfully make that connection. And he said something in a very simple way, but I found it profound. He said, if a religion only makes rules that you have to follow and punishes you, it's not a religion, it's a scam. And I just thought, you know, this 25-year-old, I don't know, he's probably on LSD or something, in such a perfect, simple way. Like that, doesn't that just like put that in such a comfortable little box, at least for my brain? I'm like, yeah, that is so true. If it's all about rules and following the rules, it's probably just a scam, isn't it? And no one likes falling for a scam. So anyway, great conversation that I had, but it helped the next day as I was sitting there kind of propel some of the thinking that I had about the whole situation. So going back to this whole like abusive, toxic relationship, I just want you to envision a situation where you have a friend. So you have a friend and they are having some relationship problems. And so she comes to you and she says, oh yeah, you know, me and my boyfriend were kind of on the outs and we've been dating for like 5 years and we kind of had a little bit of an argument and I'm just not really sure about things, but hopefully we can work it out. And you're like, oh, okay, you know, try to be there and say whatever things that people say in these situations, right? And then you find out that the boyfriend slept with 3 of her friends in this week-long period where they were having an argument. All right. And in this time, he says, well, we weren't dating at the time. What did you want me to do? Go a week without inserting my penis somewhere? What a preposterous proposal you're making. My penis must find a place every 7 days. I couldn't even imagine not having sex with 3 of your friends. And we weren't dating at the time, were we? And she's distraught over this whole situation. Now imagine hear this and, she's relating all of these details to you. And your reaction was to tell her, it's not that big of it. Why are you overreacting? Like, were you guys together? Like, did you have a contract? Did you sign a legal document? And did he sign a legal document saying that he wouldn't do this shitty thing? No, you didn't. Well, I guess I don't see what's the problem. I don't see. She would feel like she was kind of crazy, wouldn't she? She would feel like, well, maybe I am in the wrong here. Maybe I am overreacting to this. And you could have friends, multiple friends that all say, I think you're kind of overreacting. And it would solidify this. And then somehow, some way, and this happens in the real world, unfortunately, but somehow, some way, she is made to think that she was the one, that it was her problem all along. And so she goes and she apologizes to him. I'm sorry for overreacting. And he sits there and says, oh, well, I was never going to apologize for anything I did. And besides, that was like 2 weeks ago. Are we really going to bring up things from 2 weeks ago? Come on, let's just move forward. This is what happens within the power dynamic of Jehovah's Witnesses. The governing body will try and convince you, and other people in the organization will also try and convince you that things just aren't that big of a deal. Every time that there is a major change or a shift, thinking back to when I'm a Jehovah's Witness, when they're, and what did I do to participate in this activity? Whenever they change the generation teaching. Well, this just makes sense. We never said that it applied to the wicked people. They never said that. Even though I could just go on jw.org and find Watchtowers where they literally say it. But I would try and gaslight myself and gaslight other people questioning it. And tell them this revisionist psychosis, amnesia that I was experiencing, where I was trying to defend the person that's flip-flopping their doctrine around. And I did this. And now I, with 100% certainty, know that there are Jehovah's Witnesses that when you bring this up to your family or something, they're going to tell you, it's always been a personal choice. You've always had the option. Sister so-and-so, she went to college. She's a pioneer now. Brother so-and-so, he's an elder. So I don't know why you're making such a big deal out of it. And it's so frustrating, isn't it? It's so frustrating to have that conversation with someone that is clearly experiencing head trauma from some type of religious amnesia that it's been implanted like a virus into their mind. They boot up the system and bang, the whole thing goes cattywampus because of this stupid virus. And I think we need to just take a step back, because this also happens within the ex-Jehovah's Witness community, where people will say, well, I didn't go to college and I make more money than a lot of people that did go to college. Well, universities, more and more, we're finding out that those are a scam. Guess what? I hear you. I actually agree with you on many of those points. But that's not the problem. The problem is that they didn't give them the choice. The governing body had rules in place to not give people the option. And the option is what's important, because that is the distinction between, like Sean said, a scam and a religion, where they have rules in place that are designed to get you to do the thing that they want. That's a scam. It's not adding anything to your life. It's only taking away. All right? And what is people's reaction if they've been scammed? Are they going to post on social media and be like, guess what? I got one for you. I got a text message asking that I have a package at the post office, and for 13 cents, I needed to fill in my credit card details. So I clicked a link and I added my credit card details, and then all of a sudden I had $5,000 worth of purchases. Isn't that hilarious? How many social media posts do you get of people like just coming out and saying, "Oh man, they really pulled the wool over my eyes. I can't believe it. Someone called me and said that I needed to upgrade my router and enter in all my information, and now all of a sudden they stole my identity." No one tells you when they get scammed. And you know why? Because it's embarrassing. You know, you post on social media when you get really great food because everyone loves food, right? You can post on social media exposing the scam because everyone likes exposing the scam. But when you're the one to fall for it, it's kind of embarrassing. You kind of just want to keep that one to yourself. There's like a wall that you almost put up because you have been scammed. And guess what? If you were a Jehovah's Witness, it might be embarrassing to admit it, but we were all scammed. We were. And that embarrassment, I think, can lead us to these protective measures where we say things to someone that says, "Man, I am outraged that I wasn't able to further my education. I'm struggling in life. You know, I have these mounds of debt and this, that, and the third. And I wish that I would have had the option." And for someone to come along and say, "Well, I haven't experienced those problems." You can't take the general or the specific and make it a general. It's a logical fallacy, right? So we just can't be doing that. And I think people do that because they know that they were scammed. And it's better to just say, "Well, let me tell you about these positive things that I've experienced. Let me basically do Watchtower's work for them and protect myself by having this facade of this bravado, chest in the air." And I think they come from a well-meaning place, right? And again, I agree that there are fundamental problems, especially in America, with our college system. I think, maybe this is like a hot take, but I kind of think college is a scam. But that doesn't mean that someone shouldn't have the option. Just because I think something doesn't mean that that's how it's going to work out for everyone, because there are more benefits than just ones and zeros, you know? It's not just the financial aspect of it. Maybe people feel like they don't have a lot of longtime friends because they didn't go to college, and a lot of people form bonds and friendships with people. They make a lot of connections that help them advance their career, or, you know, people that they go on vacations with. They have a lot of experiences with the people during college. It's a very informative time of people's lives. You know, they try new things or not. Oh, my computer is going to sleep. I think we're okay. My computer was telling me you're ranting a little bit too much here. So anyway, but I think that we need to maybe temper those comments, because you're talking to the girl who had a problem with her boyfriend, and then he went and slept with 3 of her friends, you know? And she's just in a bad situation. And maybe the thing that we don't need to say is how great our relationship is. "Well, me and my boyfriend have been together for 12 years and we've never had any of those problems. And man, we just wake up and we cuddle and we have breakfast and we go to brunch on Sundays, and he doesn't even play fantasy football. He gives me foot rubs. He knitted me some socks." Before you know it, you're going to get punched in the face, because no one wants to hear that, right? Like, have a little compassion. This is coming from me. If I'm saying have a little compassion, we know we got a real problem on our hands, okay? And I just think that we need to listen to Sean in this, you know, put it on a t-shirt, listen to Sean. We were scammed. Getting scammed is embarrassing. You don't like to admit that you're getting scammed. But to the person that's dealing with all of the fallout from that scam, maybe we don't need to hide our embarrassment by putting on this bravado or going over talking points about flaws within the education system in whatever area that we live. Because there are flaws, but maybe we can separate those two conversations. It's possible to talk about furthering someone's education without poo-pooing everything with it, because for some people it does work out and it is a benefit to them. And the whole point of this is to just try and put into perspective what Watchtower does. When I think I brought it up at the start, it takes me 30 minutes to get there, but we did get there. Maybe I'll take a drink of water, actually. Water achieved the spiritual hijacking. Like I use that phrase specifically because it's like being on a plane and it gets hijacked. Can we say that? Is it too soon? Don't care. We're going to use it. You are kicked out of the cockpit of your own life and you're no longer able to fly the plane. Go back there and be a little passenger princess, because by George, you're along for the ride now. And it's so messed up that these people take control of people's lives. And whatever carnage, whatever wreckage, whatever kind of damage that leaves behind with them steering the ship, flying the plane, they don't care, they won't acknowledge, and they will not apologize. Really, get your head around how evil that is. That there are people in Bethel that know of examples of someone that wants to grow a beard. And they can't. So they do anyway, and they get kicked out and shunned by their whole family. And it literally messes up their family. They get a divorce. The kids, they grow up without their dad around now, all because of this facial hair situation. So the person that got disfellowship for it, the mom, the parents, the whole family involved, all of them are affected. There's this carnage that's left behind from Watchtower's policy. And then imagine 6 months later, they change without an acknowledgement to that poor family that had their world flipped on its head. Now, are you going to be the person that said, well, I wasn't going to let Watchtower tell me what to do, so I just went ahead and grew my beard out anyway, and I told them they could kiss the dirtiest part of my butthole? Think about the carnage of the people that took those policies seriously, that had a different outcome. Don't use a specific in order to make a general rule. This with the education is a big one. Yes, I agree. Problems with higher education, especially in America, might be a scam. But you know what? For me or for you that thinks, hey, it might be a scam, people should have a God-given right. And this here, I'm a blue-blooded goddamn American, and I should be able to educate myself until as much as I goddamn want. God bless America. Carpe diem. They should have that right. They should have, because some people are not going to be able to learn organizational skills, social skills. They're not going to be able to rub elbows with the right people. There are a multitude of different situations where the best way for a person to achieve their maximum amount of happiness on this planet is by furthering their education. It's not a crazy thing to think or say. For some people, the answer, no. For others, yes. They should have the option, but they didn't for decades because they were kicked out of the cockpit. They were a passenger princess, and Watchtower was flying the ship. And what happens to people that take that seriously. Because what do they do instead? And I think it's a really important point to remember. What did they do instead of going to university? They pioneered. What is the cost associated with a decade-long career of pioneering? And now you are 28 years old, no degree, no savings, single, no job experience other than some part-time work here and there, and you're living with your parents. That is a realistic picture of thousands of people, tens of thousands of people. That is a real snapshot of their life. 28, no education, hardly any work experience, only know other Jehovah's Witnesses that maybe own construction companies or something like that. That is a difficult situation to sort of navigate for a lot of people. And Watchtower just looks at that and says, I don't have to apologize. Doesn't matter to me. And that's the point, is that the people within the organization, they just don't matter to the leadership. If they mattered, if the governing body actually cared about Jehovah's Witnesses, if they did love them and felt a sense of protection over them. Again, let's go back to that, thinking about that boyfriend-girlfriend situation. They would, at the bare minimum, they wouldn't have done it in the first place, but at the bare minimum, they would feel some type of remorse. They would want to acknowledge a fact that that are intimately aware of. They know the negative consequences that their policies have. Sure, if you want to say, disfellowshipping, it's not really that big of a deal. You get kicked out for 90 days, and then you get to come back. It wasn't that big of a problem for me. Hey, I even missed some meetings, and I took a little vacation while I was disfellowshipped. Well, slap my knee, call my aunt, and kiss my grandmother. Yippity-dee-dah, that is great for you. But what about the person that got kicked out and was shunned from their whole family, went through a mental breakdown, and is no longer walking on planet Earth? Those are real people that took their own lives as a direct result of being shunned. Are we really going to go to bat and say, hey, it wasn't that bad for me? Cool. What about them? I think we need to be aware that the damage is there. The proof is in the pudding. We know people, we've experienced it ourselves, of the damage that Watchtower causes. And so it's not an overreaction when this thing that has caused so much upheaval, so many more problems in our life, or just even the unknowns because you didn't have the option. It's not an overreaction to be upset about it, to feel passionate about it, to want to talk about it, to scream from buildings, to yell about it. Heck, how many videos have this is my third video ranting about this subject? But I think that's a natural reaction. And I just want to tell you, you are not overreacting. And don't let anyone tell you that you are, because you just aren't. So anyway, that's my rant for the day. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Hopefully I was able to get at something or say something that maybe put it in a box so you could help you explain it to other people. Whatever the case is, hopefully this was a useful rant. If it wasn't, you probably aren't even watching the video at this point. So not really talking to any of you anyway. With all of that being said, stay safe, be kind, and don't forget to spend more time loving the things you love than hating the things you hate. You better go hiking, because if you do, you will have a good-ass day.